What's up, guys? Welcome to G Whiskey. My name's Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below, and with that out of the way, let's jump into our review. Today, we're looking at the Oban Distillers Edition. Stick around. Okay, so today it's a re-review, but not really a re-review. This whiskey comes out in batches, or in vintages, I should say. And I've previously looked at a different vintage, so we might have something different on our hands here. I've looked at the 2019 before. I did that review last year. I'll link it up here. I really liked it. And you know, if I was smart, I would have found a newer, more relevant batch to look at, but I didn't do that. Instead, I've got the 2017 batch here with me today. Now, why did I choose an older and less relevant vintage to look at for you guys? Well, I don't know. Truth is, I've been on a bit of an Oban kick lately. I picked this one up recently. I want to talk about it now, and it's as simple as that. So our bottle here was distilled in 2003. It was bottled in 2017, and it's been finished in Montilla Fino Sherry casks. Now, some of you may or may not know this, but Fino Sherry is a particularly dry kind of sherry. It imparts a different set of flavors than what you might normally associate with sherry. Most of the sherry casks used in the whiskey industry are going to be Oloroso. Oloroso is kind of like the all-rounder sherry, so it's a little bit sweet, it's very fruity, we have lots of spices in there. It's the classic sherry notes that you'd expect. You also have stuff like PX casks, which tend to be a little bit sweeter. Stuff like Fino, it's not uncommon, it does pop up here and there, but it is less common. And I like it. It's different. As I said, it's drier. We often have these like nutty notes worked in, and the nice thing about Fino is that it's not quite as overwhelming. Oftentimes with sherry casks, they can completely overwhelm the distillate, and luckily that doesn't usually happen with Fino casks. Particularly lucky in this case here because it's an Oban, and I love the taste of the Oban distillate, so I wouldn't want to see that overwhelmed. So I'm a big fan of the house style. Our sherry cask influence could work here, and speaking broadly, I'm usually a fan of these Distillers Edition releases. They're not all great. For the most part, they do play it a little bit safe, but broadly speaking, they're pretty good. I can't say I've ever had an outright bad one. So let's see how this one works out. Let's jump into our review, see what the whiskey's all about, and in the meantime, if you could kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. So as with our standard Oban, our ABV on this one comes in at 43%. It is chill filtered, and it is colored. Now, for the sake of brevity, I'll spare you guys the long rant, and you know, I was considering either a sigh of disappointment or an eye roll. I think I'm going to go with the sigh today. Alright, so never mind the color here. As for the bottle itself, I absolutely love it. I think this is a great looking design. I love the dark kind of like regal blue color scheme and the fonts and the layout, the composition, I guess we can call it. It's all very formal, it's very classy. Presentation is 5 out of 5 for me. Nothing about color or chill filtration. Obviously, it's a Diageo product, distilled in 2003, bottled in 2017. Beyond that, we have a lot of like stuff on the label, but most of it's not very useful or interesting. Still though, it's a great looking bottle. This is actually my favorite from the DE line. I did not add water. Let's try our nose. Okay, so caramel and these light wine tannins. Classic Oban coastal notes in here, like sea air. There's also stuff like salted taffy in here. Orange juice. Fruit juice. We've also got plum and oak and apricots and some honey. But the honey here is a little bit floral. In fact, we've got a lot of sort of like flowery, foresty notes underneath everything else here. It's nice. And now our palate. Quite a nice coating texture, especially considering the lower ABV. Sweet cinnamon, buttered toast, some orange zest in here. We've also got sea salt, some marzipan, some chocolate mousse in here, and some almond liqueur type notes. And now our finish. Nice finish. Our Fino notes get a little bit more forward here. So I'm getting white wine, some gentle nuttiness in here, definitely a touch of oak. There's also almond pastries, some plums, some nutmeg, and some anise. It's a short to medium finish. Okay, so this is a nice whiskey, but I do have some reservations. It's definitely not as good as the 2019 release that I reviewed last year, and it's one of those whiskeys that doesn't get anything wrong, but it's just not interesting enough, it's not inspiring enough, it's more just nice. Anyway, this one is of course a Distillers Edition, and as with all the DEs, it's meant to build upon the standard release. The standard release, as we all know, is Oban 14. That's a whiskey that I absolutely love. In fact, I'll be reviewing it quite soon. And I've actually got a few Oban reviews coming up on the channel, so make sure you do stick around for those. But anyway, yeah, I think our sherry influence in this whiskey is nice, but I don't know that it's necessary. The sherry didn't really add anything here. Oppositely, it didn't really detract either, or maybe it did, but the point is it's not improving on the base distillate. It's changing the flavors, but they're not any better. And it was a totally different story with the 2019 release. I genuinely did enjoy that one. I think I gave it an 87, so definitely a good score. I stand by it. If memory serves, the sherry and the distillate were much more harmonious, much more in balance with that one. And it's funny, between the 2017 and the 2019, that's probably the biggest inconsistency I've ever seen between two Distillers editions from the same distillery. This one is definitely a downgrade from the other two that I've tried. I've also tried another vintage that I cannot remember right now. So yeah, if it were me, honestly, I wouldn't have bothered with this finish. It's just not needed. Because the Oban distillate itself is already delicious enough without any cask influence or without any, strong sherry cask influence. So unless your casks are really adding something new or interesting to the equation, unless they're really working in tandem with the spirit, you don't need them. And this one just didn't work out. Keep in mind, this one is a little bit older. It's from 5 years back, 2017, and I did like the 2019 a whole lot more. Now, I don't think we can turn that into some kind of broader statement saying that the more recent bottlings or the newer bottlings are better than the older ones. I don't have the information there. I don't have the evidence for that. What I can tell you with some certainty, though, is that there's an inconsistency in quality between different Oban DE releases. And it's not just the 2019 that I prefer. Even the regular Oban 14 I think is much more inspired than this one. Honestly, this one is a little bit of a disappointment. I'm going to score it an 83. It's very modern, it's very designed, it's very, let's say, over-engineered, but as a result, it's boring. So would I buy this stuff again? Well, yes and no. Obviously, it would have to be a different vintage. I'm not ready to give up on Oban DEs altogether. Again, there are better ones out there. So yeah, I would come back to it, but for now, at least, I'm not in a rush. It's decent, it's okay, but no wow factor. So not great value on this one, especially this particular release. This costs, of course, more than the standard 14, and it's not any better. The better versions of the DE are good, and that makes it a tough whiskey to either recommend or not recommend, because the better ones, I would say, yes, they are worth the money, they're worth picking up, but it's a bit of a gamble. Alright, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to help support the channel, please consider becoming a patron. Otherwise, you can like, comment, and subscribe. That's always appreciated. And I do want to hear from you. Have you tried an Oban DE or Distillers Edition? What vintage did you try, and what were your thoughts? Finally, down in the comments below, you can let me know what you want to see me review next. I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.